You can leave that. Hi. Happy holidays, I guess. Whatever. If you celebrate, if you don't, whatever. How's it going? I've missed you. I love you so much. I have a bunch of shout outs to do right on top, so I'm just gonna get those out of the way. Not out of the way. This is the best part, honestly. For me. I already know what the episode is about. You don't. So shout out to my friend Megan, My Potato Life on Instagram. She is a photographer and an insurance broker, and she is a fucking stan like you wouldn't believe. This woman might change my life. I don't know. She's got a lot of ideas, and I'm really excited, and I'm really grateful for her. I'm grateful for anyone who reaches out to me and shares their story with me. You guys know a lot about me. This is kind of a one-way street, but I am on social media. I am out in the world. I am easy to reach. You can find me, no problem. And please reach out. Tell me how the show makes you feel. Tell me about stuff that's happened to you. Tell me, what you had for lunch. That's the kind of stuff I'm interested in. So shout out to Megan. Love you. Mean it. She already said it back, but love you, mean it. Next on the list is this guy named TJ. I don't even want to try and pronounce his last name because Lex and I have fought about it over and over again. Aspicosi, maybe? I don't know. TJ, My City Racer on Instagram. He hosts a podcast called Menage A Pod. He introduced me to Megan. He has introduced me to a bunch of people that I haven't met yet. I actually haven't met him yet, but he is also a stan of the pod. He has listened to the last 40 episodes in 48 hours, and he says that he has Stockholm Syndrome, whatever the fuck that means. I think maybe he wants to go to prison with me. I'm not sure. We're gonna see if that's a possibility. I am gonna be a guest on his show, but you should please check out Menage A Pod. Rate, subscribe, review. His show's really funny and light, and it's about dating, and I can't wait to go on there and talk about all of my relationship baggage. So look forward to that. A couple more people, bear with me, because these are people that listen, and I love you, and I want to express my love, because if you tell me that you love me, I want to say it back. Eco Shin. I actually don't know your real name, but I really appreciate all of the book recommendations. I really appreciate all of the messages you've been sending me. Everything that you've been saying to me resonates so deeply and so much. You are a gem among gems, and I love you. Speaking of gem among gems, J-Bones with all of the heady memes that you've been sending me, all the Baby Yoda memes. I really love it that you guys are getting in on this. I love it when people are making memes that have me as a part of it. That is so fucking cool and flattering, and you're amazing, but especially J-Bones. He's amazing. So love you, dude. Love you. And two more I got that are listeners who are actually real life friends now. So first one, Waldo, you know who you are, babe. I love you. We took acid together on Christmas in different states, and that is just the kind of thing that I want to foster with the rest of you. You want to take acid with me? We don't have to be together. We don't even have to be in the same room. We don't even have to be in the same fucking time zone. But we can take acid. We can text about it. We can talk about our trips. I can tell you where to find a good dealer in your state. I've got that information. So holler at your girl. Speaking of hollering at your girl, fucking whoa. Opened up a can of worms with this one. This girl, I met her through the pod. She's amazing. She's my real life friend now. We talk every day. This girl hits me up every single day. She tells me what she had for lunch. She tells me all of her personal stories. We're, the kind of friends that just chat casually. We know each other, even though the way we got to know each other is through this show and, through all the stuff that we both like. So she's really cool and deserves a special shout out today, because she told me that what she did for Christmas this year is she sent people my podcast as their gift. So, whoa! That's really fucking cool, and I love you. I love you, Courtney. You're amazing, and I don't know. I'm gonna buy you lunch or some shit like that. So I also want to take a minute to shout out some of my real friends, people who knew me before the podcast, during, and have taken the time to make my super shitty holiday, season substantially better. Jess, you know who you are. I don't even know if you're listening anymore, but you are everything. Lex, you guys have heard me talk about her a bunch on my Instagram, but if you don't know who she is, Lala Lexi on Instagram, please give her a follow. She streams on Twitch. She's very funny and amazing, and she is, you know, my road dog. Like, her and I chill hard. We are like annoying about our friendship, and we have a really cool art project in the works. So I'm excited to share that with you guys in the future. And also, one more, local comedian, hometown hero, diva extraordinaire, Matt Brown. If you know him, you love him. He is a very, very, very talented comedian and opera singer and human being. He's a talented human being. He's really talented at being a human. So follow him on Instagram, check out his comedy. He's really great. He's headlining the Laugh Factory in April, and I believe he's hosting at Comedy Bar all through January. So check him out. I could do a whole episode on each of these people, but he's really special to me, and he's a really special person. So thanks for existing. Okay, last one. So if you haven't noticed already, my intro music has changed. It's gonna change every week because I have a really awesome producer who takes the time to sit down and pick the perfect cut of this long mix that we've decided to use from now on, and it was created by this incredible DJ that I met in college named Marley Carroll. You can find him on Instagram, you can find him on SoundCloud, you can find him on Bandcamp, you can find him on all the places where you can find DJs, basically. He scored an episode of Euphoria, hello, name drop, and he's doing the intro for this podcast just because I asked if I could use this mix, and he said yeah. So Thanks, Marley. Thanks for everyone listening. Please check out all of these people out. They deserve your love and attention and support. So, hi. Oh, wait. I have three more podcasts that I want to tell you about. So this is my gift to you. I think that it was really cool that Courtney decided to gift my podcast to other people. So I'm going to gift you some podcasts that I've been listening to lately that I am a huge fan of. First one is the Nod Squad. This is a person that I met on the internet and am a big fan of. He's got a lot to say and really tackles the issues of like mental health and drug addiction in a very real and tangible way. Also, Menage A Pod, I already told you about that one, but please like, rate, subscribe, review, all of these. Third one, this is kind of like inside baseball, but there is this show that I cannot get a fucking enough of. I want to be a guest on it, but I'm also terrified of doing that at the same time. It's called Nobody Likes You. It streams on Facebook Live. It's really just for comedians in Chicago, but if you want some gossipy drama bullshit that is just it's the Real Housewives of Chicago comedy scene. It's like the Watch What Happens Live of the Real Housewives of Chicago comedy scene. I am such a big fan. I can't get enough of it. Dale McPeak is the funniest idiot I have ever. I don't even know him. I've never met him. I'm in a group chat with him, but we have never met. He is so funny and amazing. This show is brilliant. It's such a good idea. And I am I'm a stan of Nobody Likes You. One more. So I have a really good friend. Her name is Kalina Ote. She is a comedian in Chicago. You have heard me mention her podcast before. She took a brief hiatus so she could, make her show better, make her life better. She got married. She had all this stuff going on. Took a brief hiatus. Has this show called Cringeworthy. So I did an episode of her show that got lost. And now this episode is kind of like that lost episode. I'm going to tell you a real fucking cringe-worthy story about an STD that I got 4 years ago. So, yeah, those are all my shout-outs, you guys. Do what I say, right? Is that how this works? I love you. Do you want free drugs? First and foremost, let's just talk about the holidays for a second. Do you follow me on Instagram? You should follow me on Instagram so you can keep up with all of the debauchery that I get myself into. So I skipped my family's holiday party. Real talk. I was like invited and planning on going, and then I don't know, something happened inside of me where I didn't want to. I don't usually go to my family's house on Christmas, and it's like a complicated, intense relationship because they know why I don't go and I know why I don't go, but it hurts, it hurts me to be alone on Christmas, and it hurts them to know how much I fucking hate their life choices that I have decided to abstain from what is, pretty much the like biggest family togetherness holiday. Like I'll go for Thanksgiving, but like I'm not gonna go get my performance review on Christmas. I'm just not. And I'm really glad I didn't go, because I did receive a phone call at 3 a.m. from my favorite cousin crying her eyes out about, what the scene was like. But this year was especially rough for everyone, and I just abstained. And you can do that. You can give yourself permission to not do things that aren't going to nourish you and feel good, even if it's your family, even if it's the love of your life, even if it's, I don't know, court. You don't have to go to court. I mean, you might suffer some consequences from these decisions, but you're in charge of your own life, and you can do whatever you want, and you can exercise that freedom whenever you want, except don't kill people. That's probably bad. So this episode is about all the STDs that I caught while I was addicted to sex, addicted to this relationship, addicted to this downward spiral in this unhealed, fucked up, like this is the worst place of my life. So you'd think that maybe that was in prison, and you'd think that maybe that was any other moment that I could have already described to you throughout this podcast, but mostly this was the darkest, worst time of my life, because I was isolated. I was deep into this addiction that I had, which was addicted to this other person and addicted to this lifestyle that wasn't really who I am. It was something that I tried, and it didn't work. It didn't work out well for me. So you'd probably think that after all of the violent rape that I experienced in prison, that I would have contracted some kind of STD from that experience. And I didn't, and I'll explain why. So in episode 17, when I really get into what happened in prison at Dwight, I told you about the doctor that I saw first. So what their routine was is they would test you for STDs, and then they would cure you of any STDs that they had. And then they would rape you because, you were clean now, I guess. A lot of the women that went in there were prostitutes before they got arrested at some point. Most of them were drug addicts. Most of them were heroin addicts. So this was not people that were coming in there clean already. So they knew that, and they had to treat you medically before you could be allowed to, mix with the rest of the prison population. So they would treat you for any STDs that you had, and then they would rape you. And the rape that they experienced in prison was primarily anal sex, because a lot of women, would use the sexual misconduct to their advantage. So if they were serving some kind of life sentence and then they were having sex with a guard, they would intentionally get pregnant so that they could file a rape charge and get released from prison early. I think there were something like 7 cases of women who ended up having babies from prison guards that got released from jail early because of the lawsuits that they would have faced. This prison is shut down now, by the way, because of all of the sex crimes that occurred. But when I was there, and I was there the last year that it was up and running, they had already gotten past the point where these women had gotten pregnant, and, they didn't adjust their protocol by not raping the inmates. What they did was they just said, okay, only anal sex, only oral sex, and then we don't have to deal with these women getting pregnant and getting released. So yeah, I didn't get any STDs in jail. Not a one. But several years later, when I was out of jail for the second time, and I was living with this guy who was gay, and who was having all sorts of risky, crazy sex. And I was too. You know, it wasn't just him. It was definitely me too. But he was even further than me. He would go to glory holes. He would go to Steamworks, which is like a bathhouse in Boys Town that has like a gym and a bunch of rooms where dudes just go and have sex. He was on Grindr. He would have sex with other women. We would have threesomes. We went to sex parties. It was just like an addict behavior, but with sex. And we were polyamorous, but we would have all of this like really kind of kinky, weird sex. Like we would drink each other's blood, like that kind of shit, you know? And what eventually tore our relationship apart really is because we were open and we were like, you know, admittedly freaks, is that ultimately he spent a lot of time lying to me. Even with all of that freedom, even with all of that understanding and openness, it's really hard to break the habit of lying when that's all you've ever done your whole life. He has always had to lie about who he was to everyone that he was with. His parents, his sister, his friends, his girlfriends, everyone. No one could know that he was gay or having gay sex. And until I literally walked in on him with 2 dudes, I had no idea that that was a part of his life. And we were close. We had sex every day in college, and I still had no idea that that's what he was into. And then when I did have an idea, when I figured out exactly what he was into, I was like, okay, you're a liar, I'm a liar. Like we're both hiding who we are from the general public. You know, no one can know that my parents are as fucked up as they are. You know, no one can know that I went to jail. No one can know what is really going on with me. And he felt the same way. So it was like, okay, we'll be safe in our lies together because you just keep lying to everyone and I'll keep lying to everyone, and you know who I am and I know who you are, and we can just have this one person that we're honest with and safe with. But it turns out that I wasn't safe with him at all, that he was still lying to me. Even after all that, even after everything that I knew that he was doing, there was a bunch of stuff that I didn't know that he was doing. And how that worked itself out is I eventually got super gonorrhea. Oh, that's so embarrassing. I'm so sorry. To my dead parents who, you know, may or may not be listening to me say this right now. So I got super gonorrhea in my throat and in my butt. And what that is like, it's not just regular gonorrhea. It's like antibiotic resistant strain of gonorrhea that is very difficult to cure and takes like a month-long worth of treatment and tends to have some pretty severe side effects. So I'm just feeling a little sick, honestly, like thinking about this, because I knew something was wrong. I had felt, you know, kind of sick and weak and had, you know, like weird symptoms that I ended up Googling and finding out were, you know, synonymous with gonorrhea. So I'm like, okay, great. I'll go get checked. So I go get checked, get swabbed, find out not just gonorrhea, super gonorrhea. And I was like, what the fuck does that even mean? And that meant that I had to get a shot of antibiotics, not penicillin because I'm allergic, but some other, I think maybe amoxicillin or something like that. I had to get a shot in my muscle, in my butt, and it was so painful. I could not sit down for like 2 days afterwards. And then I had to go on Cipro for a month, and I had to go and get swabbed every like other week so they could test the cultures to see if the Cipro was actually working, because it's very hard to cure. So you need to be on really intense antibiotics, you need to be on it for a long time, and you have to continuously get checked to make sure that it's gone. Also, you're not allowed to have sex during this time. But, you know, I'm in a relationship with a sex addict, and I'm a sex addict, so do I listen to the doctor's orders? No, no, of course not. I'm not going to stop having sex for a month. You know, I really couldn't stop having sex for like a day. I think I waited like maybe 24 hours between getting the shot for my super gonorrhea. Oh my God. So this is so embarrassing, you guys. I waited maybe 24 hours before I started having sex again. Having sex like normal, not really taking any extra precautions. And then within a week, I noticed something weird. I had this like weird bump between my, butt and my labia, and it started to hurt, and it got to a point where it just came out of nowhere. And then within like a week, I couldn't sit down, I couldn't walk, I couldn't pee. Like I literally could not do anything. So of course, what do? I go to the hospital. I should have, made an appointment with a gynecologist, but I couldn't even wait because of how bad it had gotten. So I go to the hospital, I wait, I see someone, and the first doctor that I see looks at it and says, "Oh, have you had rough sex recently?" And I was like, "Doctor, I only have rough sex." And she was like, "Okay, well then this is a hematoma." And that's like a bruise that's full of blood on the inside. So she's like, "This is a hematoma. It's very painful. I, can't do anything for it, but like, here's some Vicodin." And I was like, "Okay, cool. Thanks. Thank you for the Vicodin." So she said it would be gone in a couple of days, but not only did the symptoms lessen, they just got worse, and then they were covered up by the opiates. Like, shout out to the medical community for just, filling you up with pills and then sending you on your way without actually figuring out what's wrong with you. So a week later, I've gone through all the Vicodin. It's still there. It still hurts. I still can't walk. I still can't fucking pee. Now it's like I can't go to work. I had my boyfriend drive me to the hospital again, and any like bump, which if you've ever driven through Chicago, it's like bumps galore. Like every little pothole that we hit would just send pain like ringing through my entire body. I was crying, and I couldn't even see straight at this point. I hadn't peed in like, I couldn't drink water because I couldn't pee because I just was so painful. So I get to the hospital, and now I'm here for the second time. I told them, I'm like, "This is not a hematoma. Something is wrong. Please, help me." And what we found out was that my Bartholin gland, which is, shout out to your Bartholin gland. It's like the gland inside of your labia that produces moisture, had developed an abscess from the combination of the treatment and the sex. So it's like I had all of these really strong antibiotics that were drying me out, fun, and then having sex. And so I like created an abscess in this gland, and then the abscess just grew and grew and grew. And it had gotten to the point after, waiting so long and just masking it with opiates, is that now I have to have the abscess lanced and drained. And that means that they had to cut open my vagina with a fucking scalpel, lance this abscess that was growing inside of me, squeeze it all out, and then put a tube in so that it could drain properly. So because we had waited so long to go to the hospital, because it had been maybe like 2 weeks now from the point where I noticed something was weird to where I'm like, okay, I like cannot exist on this 10 level of pain anymore, is that they were like, "Well, we could inject you with lidocaine, but because it's so inflamed, you won't even feel it." So that means I had no pain medication. I had nothing. And they just cut open. Oh God. This is so sexy. They cut open my Bartholin gland. They drained the abscess. They pulled the sac out. They cut it all out. No fucking pain medication, no lidocaine, no numbing agent, no nothing. They drained it. They put a little tube in, and then some guy coded in the next room, meaning that he stopped breathing. So it was like every ER doctor, nurse kind of all ran, and they were like, "Okay, good. Here's a stitch. Like, good job. See you later." There was no aftercare or anything. And I just was so relieved at that point that I could pee again, that it wasn't as excruciating as it was before. It was just like, okay, fine. Like, this is actually better than I was before. So I guess I'll just go home. Like, thanks, doc. See you later. But they didn't close it correctly or all the way. So it got infected again within like a day, and I again was just right back where I started. I couldn't walk, I couldn't move, I couldn't pee. I was in so much pain. I was like, I don't need to have kids because I've already given birth to an abscess that is basically my child now. So I had to go back to the hospital for the third time and really like have them fix the problem that they created. So I was pretty shy and like nervous at this point, nervous with the doctors, nervous that nobody knew what they were actually talking about or doing, nervous that whatever they were gonna do to me was gonna hurt like it did last time. And I was in agony, like screaming at the top of my lungs in pain. I just can't even describe to you having like a super painful abscess in your body and then having someone just take a scalpel, like dry, no nothing, like no ibuprofen, like no fucking nothing, and just be like, yeah, we'll just cut that shit open. And so now I'm back for the third time, and I was nervous. I didn't even want to like open my legs to let this new doctor come and take a look and try and figure out what the fuck was going on. And they were not cool about that. It was super rough. They had another nurse come in and like hold my legs down, and I was screaming and crying, and it was so traumatic, and I was alone. And yeah, it was just genuinely one of the worst, most fucked up experiences of my whole life. And throughout all of this, I was kind of like, oh my God, to this guy, I'm like, I hate you, but like I love you for like being here through all of this. I mean, he had super gonorrhea too, so he also had to get treated, but he just, you know, got the shot and the pills, and then it was chill bones. I was the one who had this like really traumatic response to the infections that we both contracted. And that's the thing about guys, is like, yeah, they've got it so easy. They don't have periods, they don't have babies, and they don't have the same physiological response to any kind of STD or STI. And it's also harder for them to contract, but way easier for women because, well, we are open, they are closed, you know? Does that make sense? I don't know. Anyways, so I was just like, oh, okay, this is like me trying to spin it and make it happy. I'm like, we're closer now because we went through this fucked up experience. And then later I found out that throughout this whole time while I was in the hospital and, you know, like in and out, getting fucked up and fucked over, he was having this like secret affair with this trans woman that he met online. And now there was like this whole other fetish that he had approached that I didn't really know anything about or wasn't a part of. So it was this weird kind of mix between extreme pain and then extreme betrayal. And that was kind of this dude's middle name. Like he was really into betrayal. I think that was really his kink. But what happened was that I just felt this profound realization that I was alone in this relationship. You know, I was just kind of in this really abusive, really toxic, really fucked up experience with this other person where I thought that I was getting what I needed from them, but what I was actually getting was hurt, and I was willingly hurting myself over and over again by choosing to be with him. There were so many points in our time together where I could have been like, get the fuck out. And there were so many times that I had felt that way, and so many fights that we got into that sort of came to that conclusion, but he stayed and I stayed, and we both decided to stay in this fucked up relationship for way too long until it destroyed me, because I just didn't heal from anything that I had been through. And instead I was like, let's make it worse. How worse can we make this? Let's try and see. I was almost gonna like win the Guinness Book of World Records for like how fucking shitty can I make this? And then after the third hospital trip, I was prescribed oxys. So I got Vicodin the first time, went to town on those, and then I got Oxycontin the third time. And then that was really a turning point, because I think that when you're low, when you're weak, when you're feeling vulnerable, when you're fucked up, when you're already making bad choices, and then someone hands you a bottle of heroin and they're like, use these responsibly. I mean, like, do you think that that's what I did? No. You know, I already have I don't want to say I have an issue with opiates, because it's pretty easy for me to stop. But if somebody has them, if somebody gives them to me, if they're like right in front of me, I'm going to do them. I'm also going to do heroin. And I don't really care what anyone thinks about this. I'm not going to do it now or anything. I'm going to wait until I like accomplish something worthwhile in my life. Like after I publish my first book or after something really cool happens in my career. Like what if this show got rebroadcast on NPR? Here's my plan. This show gets on NPR. Guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to get a bunch of fucking heroin. I'm going to go to Iceland and I'm going to do it in one of those globe igloo hotels underneath the Northern Lights. And I want to die with a needle in my arm. I mean, like, I want to do it when I'm ready at my life. I think that the mistake people make with heroin is that they do it too young. You shouldn't do heroin when you're young. You shouldn't do heroin when you have stuff to lose. You shouldn't do it when you like have responsibilities or like children or like something like that. But when you're older, if you've accomplished some shit, if you if you feel like this is something that feels good for you, which I mean, I guess it's heroin. So like, yeah, it feels good for everyone. But if it's something that you like, if you like doing heroin, I think you should do it. I think you should do as much as you want. And I want to die like Prince. That's how I want to go down. I don't want kids. I would like to have some semblance of a career, but I don't really have that kind of like aspiration for my future. My aspiration is one day I'm going to do a bunch of fucking heroin and I'm excited about it. So is this episode depressing? I don't know. The next one might be worse. I'm going to talk about, this was like a physical betrayal, I think. You know, he had this way with me where I would get so upset about the lies and the deceit and all of the craziness. It's like, do you have to do that much coke? Like, do you have to fuck that many people? Do you have to not get a fucking job? There were so many things where I easily could have been like, you're bad and you don't deserve to be with me. But, you know, he knew me. He knew how to talk to me. He knew how to joke with me. He knew how to fucking manipulate me. He knew all the right things to say. And I'm a sucker. If you say the right things, I'm just like, yeah, okay. You know, that's like, I just never joined Scientology because I'd just be like, yeah, this makes sense. I'll sign over all of my money and my life to you. But, you know, different cults are cool. Maybe not that one. This was weird. I feel weird. But I love you. You know, tell your friends about the podcast. Not this episode in particular. Like, wait until they've... Oh, wait. President Trump is 45, right?
Yeah.
Yeah? Oh, this is my Trump episode, you know? It's like, imagine like I'm the United States of America and I have all these presidents and then like one time there's just like this fucking psychopath and we don't know how he got in there. It was a mistake and it was like everything was false promises and then you fuck shit up so bad that you're like, am I ever the same? No, I'm not. So I love you. The real reason I didn't go to Christmas in my family's house is because my grandfather, and he like drove me by this, like he like came downtown in like a town car and like picked me up and like drove me past where they were going to build the Obama library. And he's like dropping, he's like, and I donated this much money to prevent it from happening. And I'm just like, what? Why? My family's fucked up. I get why people hate me, you know, but I'm not the same. I don't like them either. So, okay. Yeah, that's it. I'm done. Love you. Subscribe.